Aloha. I like that dramatic entry. It's tough to get my ass out of the way when I try and do that. Yep. So we got a good tune, which I think is pretty appropriate for right now in some ways. And I'll talk after. Okay? Say you stand, my old man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me, and that's a fact. And then you left, said you felt trapped. Well, some things you can't explain away, but the heart aches with me till this day. You didn't stand by me, well, not at all. Stand by me, no way. All the times we were close, I remember those things the most. I see all my dreams come tumbling down. I can't be happy without you around. So alone I keep the wolves at bay. And there's only one thing I can say. You didn't stand by me, well, not at all. Stand by me, no way. You must explain why this must be. Did you lie when you spoke to me? You stand by me? Well, not at all. Now I got a job, but it don't pay. I need new clothes, I need somewhere to stay. But without all of these things I can do, but without your love, I won't make it through. But you don't understand my point of view, and I suppose there's only one thing I can do. You didn't stand by me, not at all. Stand by me, no way. You must explain why this must be. Did you lie when you spoke to me? You stand by me, or not at all. Did you stand by me? No way. Yeah, a couple little muffs in there, which is disappointing. I had that one down stone cold. I don't know, I kind of was watching my hands too much, like in the video, so it kind of distracted me. There's just fuck-ups in every one I do, so that's why I don't redo them anymore. It ain't for anything. It is whatever it is. It's of the moment. It's one time. I kind of work on these songs. And I've been playing some of them longer than others, and others I really... It's all about getting the words down where you don't have to think about the words while you're doing them. There's a song I've been listening to a solid 30 years, But all of a sudden you got to put the verses in order. It's easy to repeat, think about it, like the simplest songs, when all of a sudden you're not singing along with it. It's just not, and then you got the chords, and there's just a lot going on, man. So that's one reason I think musicians in bands, not today, because just about the majority of them, the younger bands play with backing tracks and with pre-recorded vocals. It's pathetic. Pathetic. If you're okay with that and support that, and look, I say strong things because I feel strongly. Makes you kind of a loser if you're okay with that. You should not demand, because they don't give a shit. It's all about money. But if you're okay with somebody like lame ass bands, I don't even want to say band names because I don't want to give anybody anything that they don't deserve. But that pre-record their stuff, because they can't do it live or can't play. And timing, rock and roll ain't about timing. Don't get me wrong, it can't be totally horrible, but good rock and roll always goes out of time, like Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff. Listen to that stuff from the 50s, the Sunshot stuff. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It's some mystical thing when it's awesome. Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis. There ain't nothing about click tracks going on there. But what I was going to say is, and I totally forgot, but it was important. It was very important about how it's all about of the moment and just letting it, going for it, you know, and you're going to screw up. Everybody being perfect. That's what I don't understand. Like, people want it to sound just like the record. Why? Why? You paid money. You already own, like, the record. Why would you want it to be just like that? Why? Why? Think about that. It's so pathetic. And the other thing, I love how people go to live gigs now and they get upset if somebody stands up to want to move to the music. That's what it used to all be about. Now you got these people, generally they're, you know, like black turtleneck wearing Tesla drivers. And I own Tesla stock, but I remember being at a gig. I won tickets. One time I won free tickets. It was to Bob Dylan and Van Morrison. And I think it was the new Boston Garden, which, you know, some soulless piece of shit. But got up to dance during Van Morrison's set. And of course, like, some lady like 15 years older than me, and this was like 20 years ago. So she was probably in her 50s or something. And she complained. Because that's what it used to be about, you know? And it's just horrible. I remember this guy I was friends with for a while. And I thought he was a really good friend until I just realized what a dirtbag he was. And he could even be watching this. But because it got to the point where I couldn't believe a single thing he ever told me. And I mean anything. Like I went to 7-Eleven yesterday, and not that you have any reason to wonder, but the story would turn into, and a gun came out, and I tackled the guy, and, you know, and then there wouldn't be anything on the news, and that wasn't a specific example, but it was just how bad things got. And I remember him saying to me one time, you know, oh, it's always good to just say something nice that they'd like to hear. And I'm like, well, kind of the truth, or saying something you don't intend to follow up on or don't really mean, I don't think that's really nice, you know? So, and it's funny the way scumbags will always tell you what you want to hear, and if you really want to hear that, you're willing to accept that, and that's where we're at, you know? And it's funny, you know, everybody, probably not everybody, sadly, but they're trying to put Donald Trump in jail, or really just derail his presidential ambitions here. And if you're okay with what's going on, and I don't mean this as an insult, because I mean you can correct it, but you're an idiot. Because if he truly is us, they're going after him because he's everything they aren't. People like Mitch McConnell, Joe Manchin, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, they're not real people. They've never earned anything they've gotten. They're just doing it by lying and cheating and making deals that they have no soul. Love Donald Trump or hate him, and I like him as a politician. I was aware of him before. I didn't really care. Never watched him into The Apprentice or anything. Don't care. But I've been unable to find that he's not genuine. And if anybody's like, oh my God, bullshit. Sure, he generalizes when he talks, but you don't understand. That's not the blowjob signal. That is the tongue in the cheek. He's giving shit to the right people, these losers from CNN and the people, the permanent Washington people. He's going at the right people. He's doing the right things. And his ego is such, and I've said this before, and this is the bottom line to it all. He wants to be known as the best president for the right reasons. He really does. He doesn't need this. He doesn't need this. And that's what I mean by he's everything they're not. He earned all this. He doesn't need any of what you can possibly get through government. Somebody like Mitch McConnell's been in government his whole life. He should not be worth over $60 million. There's no legal way that is possible. It's not savvy investing. It's because he has information and controls laws and rules about how his investing can go and stuff. That man should be, $60 million should mean he should be in jail. He is a rotten person. And anybody who wants to roll that motherfucker out there and say this, being a senator, our finest people, represents the best that we've got to offer in America, have some respect for yourself. He is an embarrassment to the world. And believe me, the rest of the world is laughing. So, because I don't know, not many of you know, and I'm sorry, but just at this point I realize that nobody's paying attention. They're more interested in shit that don't matter, like Tom Brady and Giselle or The Bachelorette, than they are about shit that actually affects every second of their life. But China and Brazil have just foregone the US dollar as the petrodollar, so that meaning that was the main thing that made America America, was that all transactions of that nature were done in the US dollar. That's gone. So you're going to find out pretty soon what that means. I mean, it's no longer, people think America's a joke because it is. Because of people like that. There's somebody, this guy, my dad was a World War II veteran. And this guy, this jerk here, he's like the generation or two after my dad. And this guy never did anything like real or for the right reasons except self-serving BS. This guy is, you really believe that Joe Biden was in a car with his dad and saw two guys kissing in the 1940s or 50s, and his dad said, Joey, they just love each other? I mean, how can you... I mean, sure, it's funny. If Trump did it, he'd do it in a funny way, but he wouldn't do a joke like that. This guy just thinks I can say that and people will believe me. And if you're dumb enough to and buy that shit, he was raised in the Puerto Rican community. He's been to more Sabbaths than most Jewish people. I mean, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I mean, this man is racism. And you're just a dumbass. And believe me, you have the opportunity to educate yourself and pay more attention so that you're not buying this shit. I mean, if you don't realize that what Trump represents is better for America, the facts are facts, folks. There was no world problems when Donald Trump was president. Period. Just that's the reality. Russia invaded Crimea when the grifter Obama was in there, and right after Trump left, they invaded Ukraine. And they invaded Ukraine because they had the right to, because America lied and brought NATO to their doorstep. Sorry, doesn't mean I'm like, hey, I want to be Russian and they're great. They had every right to, just because it's a fact. If you step back and you're just holding the earth in your hands, you're like, yeah, those guys had the right to do that because they were lied to by the rest of the Western elitist douchebags that are running this fucking world. And that's just a fact. And that doesn't mean I'm pro anybody, because I'm not. I don't join any fucking groups. I ain't part of any goddamn group. You know? So that's why I think Train in Vain by The Clash is somewhat apropos. You know, you didn't stand by me? No, not at all. That was famously, it was on the London Calling CD album, and it wasn't, it was recorded late in the process, so it didn't show up on the back. It wasn't listed as a track, which used to matter. Stuff like that was fun and mattered. Now none of it matters. You know, any loser can go right on the computer and pick off one song that they like, and you know, the fact that Britney Spears just can't, you know, but that's not okay that everybody has their different opinion. That music is horrible. Manufactured shit. And I don't want to hear, oh, she's such a nice girl. She's so... Bullshit. She's just a stupid kid with big boobs who fucking perverts and dumb fucking immature people can somehow enjoy that. And that's just a fact. Deal with that. I'm just sick of all this shit that we have to have shoveled to us, and that people are more interested in throwaway shit like what assholes like that douchebag for the Lakers and like this new movie Air about that a-hole and all the fucking insiders in that. Fucking Ben Affleck's a fucking loser. Always will be. Same with J-Lo. I don't give a fuck how much more money they have. Losers. Yeah, you know, I'm a little pissed off about it all because it's just not right. Like, we got some guy, that Japanese guy, Otani, there. I don't even know their names anymore. I don't really follow baseball or anything. I mean, if you're following sports still, you're, you know, wake up. But he's making like $65 million this year. You people are all right with that? I mean, you go to the store, you buy like 5 items, it's like 36 fucking bucks for like something that costs like 22, you know, like 2 years ago before this criminal got into the White House. I mean, this is just absurd. And people, and then the people still go to these games, and any adult man who wears a baseball jersey with somebody else's name on the back, you're a loser. Just a fact. And another thing, fuck New York. You support anything in the goddamn motherfucker who owns the fucking New York Giants, the Mara family, they are the biggest fucking douchebags in this world. They are they got some of the kids in that just worthless pieces of shit. The guy who owns the team, just a horrible human being. You know, these are insiders who just keep their mouths shut. They're telling us that we need to decrease air travel and stay closer to home, and yet the NFL is expanding to Europe, and that's important. And they fly like 150 people who have nothing to do with playing the game, and yet everybody else is supposed to get an electric car they can't afford and not take as many trips to preserve the atmosphere so that those people can still go to the fucking Maldives in Europe when they want and eat steak. You know, people like Bill Gates are not your friend. Just because he made some middling software doesn't mean you have to listen to him. Which brings me to the world needs a wedgie brigade. What we need is some sort of anonymous group similar to Antifa, but more as a power of good, that somehow can when Bill Gates is in a vulnerable position, and I'm not advocating any serious harm, but they grab him and they wedgie him. Justin Trudeau, wedgie the motherfucker, wedgie the shit out of that loser. Bill Gates, you know, Hunter Biden, although he might like it. But that's what we need. You know, they grab him, they wedgie him, and fucking disappear or leave him hanging somewhere. It'd be just, you know, good solid humor, but sending a message that you're still a nerd. Because what's happened is the world is now being led by the people who couldn't even play kickball in the second grade, and it just got worse throughout their life. You know, it should mean something that you're physically able to handle what you're spouting. You know? It's bad, people. And it's going to get worse, and I'm ready. You know? So, and that's where the kickball is going to come back into play, because those people ain't. They think the government's going to take care of them. We have an army that's absolutely useful. Oh, that sounded pretty stupid, didn't it? Useless. Usefully useless. I'm just pissed off. This shit has just gotten out of hand. You know? Well, our society is now, we're handicapped by everything revolves around the weakest member of the group. Like, they want to get rid of honors courses and honors awards for having good grades and stuff, so it doesn't hurt the people who don't even give a shit. It's not that they're dumber. They don't try. They don't want to try. And they know they can get away with it. And it's just pathetic. You should not be all right with this. And it doesn't mean we're a kinder society. You know, meritocracy is what it's about. You want to apply yourself and put the time in to learn an instrument and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and that brings me back to what I was going to say, is why I think musicians, no matter what, you go out on a stage to play music for people, even if you have an off night, it's still more or less going to, you know, like you do Hotel California, you can't really fake that. Whereas these friggin' overpaid athletes that go out there, they can mail it in anytime they want, and they do. You know? I'll never forget going to see the Bruins versus the Sabres years ago. And the Bruins just got mopped up. 6-0. You know, and it was just nobody on the team showed up. It was an embarrassment. Still paid $45 for a ticket and too much for a beer. And it was just, and oh well, you can't win them all. you can't fake a fucking concert. I mean, sure, some are better than others, but it's still gonna, you can't go out there and just randomly hit shit, you know? So, musicians deserve a lot more respect, and what they do is a lot more noble than any athlete. And yeah, I mean, my family is heavily used, sports was what it was all about. You know, my dad and all that. And it kind of was a lot more noble back in the day. Nowadays, these people are worthless, horrible people. And the people who run it are even worse. What my dad would call jock sniffers. You know? But at least Robert Kraft actually built a business and bought the team. He didn't just inherit it from his dad. So anyway, enjoy Train in Vain. Maybe we'll re-record this. I don't know if that rant got out of hand. But I'm pissed off. As you should be. Kaya.